What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to the U-2 pilot who forgot how to fly mid-flight. I don't know if I've been clickbaited here, but I mean, this channel is probably for me one of the best channels in terms of not clickbaiting, and you actually sort of get what you sort of see on the tin or whatever the flipping saying is. But this feels like something that I would do if I was a pilot. I would do this kind of thing because I just have this kind of mind where I'll just forget how to do certain things, which is probably why I don't trust myself to drive, because I've just got, again, my mind is just weird and I just forget things. But in all honesty, like, how you can just suddenly forget how to fly is something that I can't understand, which is why I'm intrigued in this video, because I can't really take it seriously without seeing the video. But we're gonna check this out and see how exactly this happened. But yeah, we're going to jump into this, hopefully going to enjoy, and yeah, let's just see how this happened.
It was only 2 hours into a routine surveillance mission in 2006 when the pilot of a U-2 spy plane knew something was terribly wrong. Sudden fatigue, difficulty breathing, and hallucinations had overwhelmed Kevin Henry, an experienced U-2 pilot. But as his cognitive abilities rapidly declined, Kevin did one of the
What was that about? This isn't him, is it?
It's one of the most dangerous things that one could do while flying at 70,000 feet. He opened the visor on his pressurized helmet, but the reason is not what you think. Kevin Henry's mission started like any other, by putting on his pressurized full-body suit. The U-2 pilot suit is basically a spacesuit, similar to what astronauts wear.
I didn't know they do that. I'm going to be honest, I didn't realize. It makes sense, but I didn't realize they have to wear the same outfits as people that go into space have to wear.
Because when cruising at the brink of space...
They're high up. What? Spy planes? Wait, what? U-2 spy plane? Why didn't they go this high? That makes me cringe, man. They're so high up. I didn't know.
The air pressure is so low that it can make your blood boil.
Jesus.
Literally. It can also get pretty hot pretty quickly in an airtight suit, which is why the suit is connected to a cooling system from the time the pilot puts it on, during transportation and walking to the airplane, and finally hooked into the cooling system inside the cabin. But when fully pressurized, the spacesuit limits the mobility of the pilot. This is one of the reasons the U-2 cabins are pressurized, so the suit can be only partially pressurized as needed, and in the event of a sudden loss of cabin pressure, the suit has an automatic mechanism to fully pressurize. But the cabin pressure by itself doesn't create the most hospitable environment. When flying at 70,000 feet, the cabin pressure is equivalent to that at 29,000 feet. Or what climbers experience at the top of Mount Everest.
Damn it.
But the air at these altitudes is so thin that each breath pulls in less than a third of the oxygen that you and I are breathing in right now, which is why those who summit Everest use oxygen tanks for their safety. Now this explains why U-2 pilots also need to breathe in pure oxygen when flying. But what it doesn't explain is why U-2 pilots start pre-breathing oxygen at least 1 hour prior to their flight, before they even get into the cockpit.
The fuck?
High altitude pilots and scuba divers have two problems in common. Number 1 and number 2. If you need to pee, you just do, of course. In the case of pilots,
you just piss yourself.
They use a special contraption that helps them capture the urine. And yes, there is a female version also.
Damn.
But when it comes to number 2, you just have to hold it in, which is not a big issue during a 1-hour scuba dive, but not feasible during a 9-hour flight.
Bro, I'd be screwed. I would be screwed. This just is all about me, because I would be done for. I would be absolutely finished. There's no way I'm holding it for 9 hours.
Which is why U-2 pilots go on a high-protein, low-residue diet 24 hours prior to takeoff.
Mate, that wouldn't make a difference for me. I'm telling you right now, this wouldn't make a difference for me.
So everything that they eat can be almost completely absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract. During the flight, they can also drink and eat via a tube through a port in their helmet.
Oh, damn.
Speaking of helmets and spacesuits, a former NASA engineer developed Ground News, who's sponsoring today's video. This news platform is unlike any news service.
Getting his money. Let's go, man. What a good transition that was.
For you. But number 1 and 2 aside, the real risk that both U-2 pilots and scuba divers face is decompression sickness. When you open the cap on a bottle of soda, the pressure inside the bottle is suddenly released, which allows the CO2 that was previously dissolved in the liquid under pressure to escape in the form of bubbles. Similarly, there are inert gases, mainly nitrogen, that are normally dissolved in our body fluids and tissues.
Whoa, is it really that serious?
But when the surrounding pressure is suddenly reduced, whether it's water pressure as scuba divers come to surface, or air pressure when U-2 pilots ascend, those inert gases start leaving the body in the form of bubbles, or simply put, they boil, which in the human body can cause extreme pain, bruising, brain damage, and without treatment, death.
Fuck.
The potential for decompression sickness is not limited to the U-2 pilots. The F-22 Raptor can cruise at altitudes greater than 60,000 feet. But one of the significant breakthroughs in the fight against decompression sickness for high-altitude pilots was the discovery that breathing 100% oxygen before flying could wash out most of the existing nitrogen from the body.
I can't get over what he's wearing. Oh, fucking hell.
During oxygen pre-breathing, the nitrogen stored in tissues and fats moves into the bloodstream, then into the lungs, from where it leaves the body during exhalation. That guy is not just chilling there. He's pre-breathing oxygen to ensure a safe flight.
Damn.
Some U-2 pilots also perform enhanced pre-breathing, which includes a 10-minute exercise of their upper and lower body at the beginning. This causes additional blood flow and delivery of oxygen to major muscle groups, which has proven to enhance the rate of denitrogization. This purge of nitrogen from the body means less risk of bubbles forming during the typical 9 to 12-hour missions that U-2 pilots fly.
Jeez.
Of course, they continue to breathe pure oxygen during the flight as well. But back to Kevin, who now we know was experiencing symptoms of severe decompression sickness. Of course, he didn't know it at the time. But things took a sharp turn when he suddenly vomited inside his sealed helmet.
Oh, man.
Not only could he not see anymore, but the small holes that bring oxygen into his helmet were also clogged. He had no choice but to open the visor on his helmet in an attempt to wipe off all the goo.
Oh,
But with the helmet open, he was breathing air that was pressurized to only 29,000 feet, which is nearly no oxygen in it. This was Kevin's Everest.
Fuck.
With his eyesight beginning to fade, colors turned black and white, and in his words, none of it made any sense anymore anyway. He knew something was terribly wrong, and he finally reached out to his home base in Beale Air Force Base for help. It didn't take long for the team at the Air Force Base to realize how severe Kevin's situation was. He had forgotten how to use the onboard computer system and couldn't remember how to punch in the necessary data into the autopilot to get himself back home.
So this guy's got an excuse. He's actually messed up. I wouldn't have an excuse. I would just forget. But this is crazy. I didn't realize there's all these things that have to go into flying in one of these. I didn't realize all the preparation you'd have to do. This has changed my whole perspective on pilots in general. I knew it was a tough-ass job, but god damn.
Further complicate things, Kevin was flying near less than friendly countries, where an out-of-control U-2 plane could pose a serious problem. The only option was to get him to land at an airbase in a Mid-East nation. The name of the country is still classified. With some difficulty, the home base was able to guide Kevin to at least point his aircraft in the right direction while he was slipping in and out of consciousness.
What the hell?
For the final hour, 2 fighter jets from the host nation flew out to accompany the U-2 plane to show him the way. It is reported that at times Kevin was flying within a few feet from the ground, but somehow he was able to safely land the airplane. Now let me help you understand why this is nothing short of a miracle. Not only a half-conscious, oxygen-deprived pilot dealing with a severe case of decompression sickness was able to fly for 6 hours back to base, but he landed center line with the wings level. See, even on a good day, landing a U-2 plane is a complicated and challenging task. As the U-2 approaches for landing after a very long flight, Another pilot follows the airplane in a chase vehicle,
What the hell?
communicating the necessary information to help them land.
Jesus,
On top of that,
hard.
the
I was thinking that was just an edit, but that's actually what happens. There's a car just following behind.
U-2 only has 2 sets of wheels, placed in line like a bicycle. With a wingspan of over 100 feet, an imperfect landing could mean tipping to one side or the other.
But why are the wheels so close? It just seems like a weird addition to the plane.
Upon landing, Kevin was quickly transferred to seek medical help. Examinations showed that he had suffered from a full frontal lobe attack. The nitrogen bubbles had formed in his brain, impeding his ability to function. Even though he recovered, to the extent that he went back to flying the U-2 only after 6 months, he was permanently grounded shortly after. It's interesting to note that until 2002, no cases of decompression sickness severe enough to hinder U-2 operations had been reported. But between 2002 and 2009, there were 16 confirmed severe cases. 9 of the pilots who experienced serious symptoms reported long-lasting or permanent brain damage.
Jeez,
One of
man.
them was Kevin. To investigate this sudden increase, a study was published in 2011 which analyzed 40 years of military's medical records. The study identified 3 major factors for the increase in cases. First, U-2 pilots were flying more often, 122% more sorties than they did during the Cold War. Second, they were flying longer missions with each sortie. During the Cold War, most flights lasted less than 8 hours, but now they could last up to 12 hours. Both of these factors meant more frequent and longer exposure to environments that can cause decompression sickness. And finally, the type of missions had changed. Unlike Cold War reconnaissance missions, in the 2000s, the ground combat support missions in Afghanistan required pilots to do more things, from inputting navigational data to adjusting sensors. This may seem minor, but the study showed that at those high altitudes, any motion as simple as raising an arm to flip a switch can greatly increase the risk of decompression sickness.
What?
Once the US Air Force became aware of this problem, they handled it with care. The Cabin Altitude Reduction Effort, or CARE, was the program that implemented the necessary changes to the U-2 airplanes to almost double the cabin pressure. This means the apparent altitude in the cockpit was dropped from 29,000 feet to 15,000 feet. Basically, they went from top of Mount Everest to below the base camps. According to US Air Force, no severe cases of decompression sickness have been reported since. But the thing is, pilots place considerable pressure on themselves to complete their missions, where they sometimes subjugate their personal safety to the needs of the mission. And so, not all instances of decompression sickness may be reported. To sign up for ground news, check out the link in the description.
That was a crazy story. Wow, could barely think. And was slipping in and out of consciousness and still landed centerline with wings level. That is crazy. That's terribly sad that so many people receive permanent brain damage from this problem. Glad the Air Force found a solution. Yeah, it's rough, man. It's amazing that the U-2's been in service for so long and they have a large sample size of pilots to determine why more of these problems are popping up. The dude's brain was literally boiling and he still landed. That is crazy to think about. God damn, man. Flipping hell. Yeah, this was not really the turn I was expecting this video to take, but god damn it, this was a crazy ride. But yeah, this is an interesting look into a case like this, and yeah, if there's more like that out there, please let me know. But yeah, until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.